Hey everyone, how are you? And welcome to Huron's Financial Services session. And today we're going to talk about financial crimes risk and the market uncertainty that was caused by the recent pandemic, COVID-19. And I've got a couple of experts from Huron to kind of take you through what's going on. We've got a brief agenda. We're going to talk about the landscape for financial crime during this pandemic, what the impact has been from working from home and on those AML programs, the ultimate beneficial ownership considerations, the CARES Act, risks and its preventions, and then the shifts in product utilization, the technology considerations in this space, and then how we can help at Huron. So my name is Bill Green. I'm a senior director here at Huron, and I've got a couple of experts with us today. And I thought it might be great for them to kind of introduce themselves before we get into the content of the presentation. Eduardo?
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Eduardo Ferrari. I am a director on the financial services enterprise solutions in analytics service line of Huron Consulting Group. I have 17 years of experience in working in AML, KYC technologies. I have implemented AML solutions globally, experiencing pretty much all the geography locations in the world. I joined Huron in 2018, where I do lead the financial crime and compliance service line. And I have also with me here today, my colleague, Matt Clark. Matt, if you'd like to present yourself to everybody.
Yep. Thanks, Eduardo. My name is Matt Clark. I'm an associate within Huron's Enterprise Solutions and Analytics practice, focusing on financial services. I joined Huron in 2017, and I've worked on multiple AML and KYC implementations within Huron's financial crime and compliance team with Eduardo.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Eduardo. Well, let's go ahead and get into the content. Let's talk about the landscape. I think, Eduardo, you're going to take us through this?
Yes. So the focus areas resulted in market uncertainty we're living right now. So I picked the four major ones that we need to be focusing. One of them is the shifting product utilization, right? So obviously during this market uncertainty, a lot of change. Businesses are accepting electronic payments more than ever. People are trying to get rid of cash, especially not necessarily because there was a recommendation or anything by the CDC, but the use of cash has been declining in the past few years anyway. With the risk of getting a virus spread through cash, people are trying to use less cash and more electronic payments. So there's obviously a shift in the product utilization that the businesses are going to start seeing, and that's going to impact your email investigation programs, as well as different opportunities for fraud to happen. The second topic is the government aid programs, right? So obviously the financial flows of these programs, they need to be considered on your AML program. So things of looking at guarantees and the other mechanisms for the loans. There's obviously increase in online payments, right? So internet banking, it's going to be used a lot to deposit those checks. Unemployment checks are coming in. There's switch on payments. Online payments, money transfers, increases in remittances to regions impacted by the COVID-19, right? So there's been a rise as well in the number of deposits from the government-supported programs. Most of them, even though they are legitimate, you still need to screen for those and make sure that you really follow the money, know the origination of these checks and electronic wires that are coming in. Because there's a lot of scams and opportunities for money laundering and corruption during this time, right? Especially the declaration of emergency by local and federal governments all over the world. Risking of fake charities and corruption cases relates to purchasing of PPPs. There's going to be some fake vendors. There's lots to be talked about around that. And there's also opportunities for businesses to try to cook the books during this time, right? Because they can start claiming losses that they don't have and essentially get more assistance or opportunities to get a cash flow going through the system that not necessarily has a legitimate origin, you know. And another thing that is happening because of this this government aid programs is a lot of the banks are trying to release products very quickly to adopt to the change, and not necessarily you're doing your custom screening, your KYC screening the proper way. So, and especially now with everybody working remotely, doing on-site visits and identity verification it's becoming a challenge during these times, right? So there's another thing to be considered. When we talk about trade and trade finance risk associated with import-export of goods, right? So there was certainly a trade finance spike on the purchasing of medical equipment, PPE equipment. So there's going to be new suppliers, new clients. The business customer risk profiles, they will have to be reassessed. Let's not forget, obviously, about sanction screening. This is a perfect timing for business to try to hide, and because everybody's trying to rush to make purchases, that you probably not doing exactly the screening you need to do, and there's might be sanctions involved there that you don't know about it, and by the time the products arrive here, it's too late, and you're doing business with a sanctioned country. So there's another thing to look at it. When we talk about trade specifically, the stock market is in a roller coaster right now. So obviously there's going to be inside trading. There's going to be a lot of different, trades related frauds happening. There's, the hyper fluctuation in the markets. It's always a good opportunity for the criminals to try to, perform all kinds of frauds on that side. And another risk I want to talk about is the working remotely, right? So everybody had to switch to working remotely very quickly, right? Then, everybody had to go home and start working in unsecured networks. Most of the people that are not fully paying attention to what's going on around them, they're going to be vulnerable to scams. There's going to be, phony emails, phony social network contacts that can expose, this person's computers, and they can get access to the systems, to the corporate systems, without, a person knowing that it has been a victim of a phishing attack. There's obviously elderly abuse, right? Medical, fake medical, Good Samaritan fraud scams right now, because you may have somebody that calls you saying that a parent or a family member, a loved one, it's in need of money urgently, and people are falling into these scams. Another thing to consider, obviously, especially for the financial institutions, your financial investigation unit, all your employees now are working remotely, right? So there's going to be operation challenges. How do you coordinate the communications and the due diligence, on-site visits, coordination with law enforcement to continue the investigations, right? So you can't really go anywhere right now. You have to onboard customers remotely. There's much bigger risk right now for exposure of confidential data. People are using printers at home. They're not necessarily shredding documents, they might be, but how are you going to control that? And how do you control the productivity of your employees as well? How do you know if they're dispositioning cases and alerts very efficiently right now? If you don't have an RPA technology, and your employees are home distracted with kids, spouses, dogs, cats, it's going to be complicated for that. So I think this is just a couple of items that we, the four majors that at least we identified here as potential risks, right? Focus areas.
Wow. So while we've been doing such a great job of quarantine, sounds like the criminals haven't been. So
no, the criminals, they don't take quarantine. They actually use it as an opportunity. It's a business opportunity for them. Microsoft CEO said, we saw 2 years of digital transformation in 2 months. Yeah, that exactly happened. So what is So how's that working for your financial institution, right? How effective are your employees right now? You know, as I was mentioning in the previous slide, people working out of their living rooms. I am. Kitchens, not everybody's equipped to have a home office. The usage of the printers, you know, out of control, may expose banks' confidential information, which may be thrown away in regular trash instead of being properly shredded. A lot of people not having friends and family over, but what if you are, and there's, you know, papers all over your kitchen with investigations that you are doing about a customer, and that gets leaked out somehow, right? So there's a very very big risk right now to expose confidential information out there. You need to be you need to raise awareness with your AML team to make sure that the documents get destroyed in a properly manner, as well as you know, making sure the workstations are unlocked all the time, because you might have strange people coming into your house and and overlook your shoulder and so on, right? And obviously, there's going to be a potential decrease in productivity. If you haven't noticed that already, you probably will, or you may have been past that already by this time. We're in June. But the disposition of cases and difficulty in performing the due diligence specifically, right? Because the communication with the business, a majority of them are closed, some of them permanently, right? And you can't really do on-site visits, and the collaboration with law enforcement might continue to be good. It has been continuing to be good. Past meetings we had with regulators and our friends from the business said that despite everybody being at home, the coordination has been good, right? But difficulties is on-site visits most of the time. But you have to, a few questions you should be thinking about is make sure your organization is really heading in the proper direction to be prepared for the current market uncertainty. So other aspect of the working from home is how you're screening your new and existing customers, right? Especially when you're launching new programs based on the government aids and current products adapted for the market uncertainty. For example, auto loans with deferred payments, credit cards, deferred payments and interest. How you are handling this? How you are making sure that you're doing proper screening of new customers that might be coming into the bank, especially when you talk about PPP loans, and all the CARE Acts packages that are coming out, stimulus packages, and so on. The products in the KYC EDD need to continue and increase actually during this time. So leverage new technologies to address some of these problems. Cut. All right, so let's talk about the ultimate beneficial ownership. So the FinCEN and the COVID-19 response about that, right? So on April 3rd, the FinCEN released a notice which updated the March 16 notice that provide additional information on how to comply with the BSA obligations during the pandemic. The FinCEN is saying that for eligible federal insurance depository institutions, the PPP loans will not require re-verification of existing customers' beneficial ownership information under applicable BSA requirements, unless otherwise indicated by the institution's risk-based approach to BSA compliance. So what should you be doing? So despite the FinCEN notice saying that the banks should assess whatever customer information is reliable based on the risk assessments, the institutions should adhere to the standard operating procedures. FinCEN recognized that COVID-19 may cause reasonable delays in compliance with beneficial owner verification requirements. Enhance due diligence, stay lookout, look exactly who's behind the business. In a recent meeting I had, there was a representative from FinCEN on that meeting, and they have created a specific place on their website where they particularly put a section there for questions related to COVID-19 challenges. The majority of the questions, about 300 of them, were related to PPP, how the businesses should be conducting the beneficial ownership collection of information to issue those loans, right? So in pretty much all these notices that the FinCEN has released, the first one was the March 16 one, and there was another one which is around April or May. I'm sorry, May 18, right? So that was the guides on how the you should be reporting on SARs, right? And if there's a SAR to law enforcement, and on those notices that there was encouraging to be using technology innovation in order to screen better your customers.
Thanks, Eduardo. So I'll briefly get into the CARES Act that was released back in March, and we'll just give a brief overview and then get into the risks and preventions. So as most financial institutions know by now, the U.S. government passed a stimulus package back in March called the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, or the CARES Act. This stimulus had multiple different titles associated with it, each meant to address and assist different sectors of the U.S. economy. Specifically, we're going to talk about Title IV of the CARES Act, which includes the Paycheck Protection Program, which aims to relieve small businesses. The Paycheck Protection Program allows eligible small businesses to apply for loans with accredited Small Business Administration lenders in order to enable businesses to, one, remain open and keep individuals employed, and also receiving paychecks amid the COVID-19 pandemic. The program outlines multiple criteria for which the small businesses may become eligible to receive a PPP loan, as well as criteria for which those businesses may receive loan forgiveness in the future. Go on to it. So CARES Act risks. There are several different risks associated with the CARES Act, but we'll focus on these three. As with any government funding made available, criminals may try to take advantage during these times, and they can pose risk to your financial institutions that are trying to help restart a suspended economy. There are several risks, and these may include applicant misrepresentation, applicant impersonation, as well as cross-border theft. So for misrepresentation, there can be a couple different examples. One, a PPP applicant may overstate payroll information, employee figures on their application, or provide falsified support documents in order to receive either a larger loan amount than they are eligible for, or have a larger percentage of that loan forgiven by the SBA. For applicant impersonation, there's been an increased reliance on the internet, online security and privacy practices, and the virtual office environment that have created opportunities for more substantial phishing attacks, which obtain personally identifiable information and identity theft. Another example can be as simple as that such impersonators may pose as valid businesses and simply just submit fake applications to lenders. And cross-border theft, foreign-based criminals may submit fraudulent applications similar to impersonation, but in which when the loan is received, they can then immediately transfer it overseas, making it nearly impossible for the U.S. government to ever recover that stolen money. So with these risks, you want to move on to how do you prevent this fraud? With all risks associated with the Paycheck Protection Program, organizations must take action to combat them. Compliance teams at these lenders are in a challenging position. They must balance the work of their own internal procedures, complying with the BSA, the Bank Secrecy Act, AML best practices, yet they must rapidly work and make decisions to support these small businesses. To minimize risks and detect fraud associated with these loans, lenders must continue to prioritize these BSA and AML compliance through multiple mechanisms. This could be performing know your customer screenings on all applicants, not just new applicants with the PPP program, conducting effective screening for third-party risk, utilizing location-based PEP screening or politically exposed person screening, continuing high-risk geography AML monitoring, as well as keeping up-to-date, relevant, and high-quality data. And to be effective and regulatory compliant, lenders must have powerful tools and resources to ensure that this fraud is detected and that these PPP funds go to those who need them most.
All right, thank you, Matt. So let's go ahead and deep dive a little bit more into shifting product utilization, right? So as we already mentioned earlier, so there's a lot changing right now, not just because of the market uncertainty, but certainly because of modernization of finance, right? So mobile payments, Zelle, PayPal, Venmo, it's everywhere right now, right? Square. So what's happening is people are afraid of using cash, right? More than ever. Nobody is actually leaving the house to go to an ATM to grab cash. Everybody just trying to do takeouts and deliveries and making purchases online. So cash, it's almost not used right now. So what is happening is the financial flows, also this aid programs, right? It's getting to the in the financial system. So because people are not receiving paychecks anymore. So, well, not everybody is, but whoever is not and is getting the financial aid programs. So there's unemployment checks that are coming in. There's government checks that are coming in. So the financial institutions need to verify if these persons are actually really the ultimate beneficiary of those programs, right? So for instance, there's been a lot of reports of fake companies being created so people can apply for unemployment benefits. And there's obviously a lot of scams happening right now because of that. So there's going to be fake checks being trying to be deposited into the system. So the companies should be, the financial institutions need to be screening those checks, make sure they're legit, right? There's processes, there's technologies for that in order to verify this. There's obviously corruption, overspending. All the governments are now allowed to spend beyond their budgets, so they're allowed to break the law to overspend, especially in purchasing of PPP equipment, medical equipment. So there's obviously corruption happening everywhere. My home country, Brazil, there's a lot of reports of that already. Some local governments are buying respirators for 3 or 4 times the cost. There's obviously embezzlement happening there as well. So that's all new trends, and I'm pretty sure your current models are not capable of handling all these changes. So the banks need to start doing modification right now. There's an increase on the stock exchange trading. If people are not working right now and they have money, hopefully they do, they're probably investing on the stock market right now, trying to make some money. There's a good opportunity to do that, but that also brings a lot of fraud and a lot of risks, especially exposure to inside trading, right? People working on these factories that are about to close or about to launch new products, right? So there's going to be inside trading as well, potential risks. The trade finance spike, as I was mentioning before, obviously because mostly the medical equipment purchases. And 2 other important items is the business and the customer risk profiles, right? So in business, you have to go and assess what your clients are doing, what type of business they are. Some of these businesses, like restaurants, they operate in a much lower scale right now. So you need to reassess what the risk profile is. Some other businesses like gyms and gyms and bars not open yet in some states, in some countries. So are these businesses going to continue to be alive after this? We don't know, right? So you have to relook at the risk profiles and probably adjust them, do a proper segmentation of your clients, because right now before the pandemic, you had a segmentation specifically for your business profiles and client profiles. But now post-pandemic, you may have to reevaluate that and make sure you're aligned with the new trend. So how the technology can help you. So the main thing is I see right now that is happening is remote KYC onboarding, right? Especially because a lot of businesses are applying for loans, PPP loans. A lot of people are applying for loans, for personal loans. They might not be your clients. How are you doing the screening for them, right? Enhance your payment screening. That's very, very crucial right now. You have to be be cognizant, right, that there's going to be internet banking fraud. There's robotics being used to try to do account takeovers. The payments, the threat from fraud has grown to sophistication in, as banks are moving to e-payments, cryptocurrency, person-to-person payments, right? They carry their own risks. People are trying to launder money that way. If you think about it, the drug industry, right? They have to find different ways to move money around the system, right? Because nobody's really carrying cash as much. With a lot of the borders closed, how they're shipping their money and the product overseas, right? So they have to find other ways to funnel the money into the system. So there's an opportunity to do that through P2P payments or other types of electronic payments. And cryptocurrency is one of them that criminals like to use that because it's more gives a sense of anonymity out there, right? And not everybody is doing proper screening on that yet. But I think if you take all that in place, I think the most important that I can mention here is that the collaboration of law enforcement and the regulators has to continue. And the trend that we see is that it has been continued and it has been encouraged to be done. There's meetings happening all the time. The people are exchanging information. Another very, very, very key thing for financial institutions to be doing is raise awareness with your AML team, make sure they're training, make sure they're up to date with everything that is happening. Don't just think that because your employees are working from home, they are focusing 100% on the job. I think it's important to make sure that awareness is raised among your financial investigation unit. Keep them up to date with all the trends that's happening in the industry. And to help monitor the productivity, create dashboards, leverage your current dashboards, enhance your dashboards, right, to kind of monitor the trend and help you to assess the risk profiles and distribute the segmentation of your customers. Use RPA to try to minimize some of the risks of the productivity, to disposition the cases, do them more quickly, and even leverage the robots to kind of go and do enhancement of your data and do Google searches with more depth now. And everybody's trying to go somehow to the cloud and, even partially, to deploy quick APIs just to resolve some compliance issues. So cloud-based solutions are, a lot of people don't want it to go to the cloud yet, but, eventually at least part of it has to be leveraged in the cloud. So because of the fast way that you can deploy APIs.
Well, great. Thanks, Eduardo and Matt. Thanks. Been very helpful. So how can we help? Now, I know this has just been a very high-level overview. We've got plenty of white papers and demos and other pieces that we could certainly take you to a deeper level and understanding of what we can do. But right away, we could help you. If you need to understand your current systems and their capabilities to support some of the things that you've heard today, some of the cloud adoption that's going on, we can certainly help you understand what's out there in the market and even deliver and deploy those type of solutions. As you heard too, there's a heavy use of new advanced analytics and APIs in there, so we can help you understand that. We've got a team specifically addressing a lot of the analytical space. We talked about dashboards, so we can certainly help you and see what the business and the industry are using today as top practices, as well as we can help you understand some of the robotics and the machine learning capabilities that are out there. We've got a really interesting demo on facial recognition that we could certainly show you and help you implement some of the newer technologies. We can look at some of the efficiencies that you can gain in some of the screening programs that exist out there in the market today. We can provide your training to your front office, making them more aware of what's out there today, as well as provide some consulting services around these key aspects today. Here's a couple of contacts for myself, Eduardo, and Matt. So feel free to reach out to us at any time. And again, you'll be getting, you'll see links and you'll see a bunch of stuff that we've got on either the white papers and demos and other videos to help you out. So I hope this was of help to all of you. and have a great day.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Matt. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And stay safe out there.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.